They will tell you it's good news, a rate cut, a new step in a program, a calmer inflation headline, and for a second, it sounds like relief. But then you open your phone, a message from a friend, still nothing, a graduate posting, any leads? A father whispering at the kitchen table, we can't do this again. Because here is the truth most headlines avoid. Cheaper money doesn't automatically create jobs. And if we don't understand why, we keep celebrating the wrong things. Today we'll build the full picture, slowly, clearly, and without slogans. We'll connect two things that people feel are connected. One, the rate cut cycle and the expectation that 2026 could bring further cuts. Two, the daily reality, prices, pressure, and the missing job engine. And we'll answer one hard question. If the system is improving, why do so many people still feel stuck? The one concept that explains almost everything. Our term for today is monetary transmission. Definition, simple. It's the path from a central bank decision to real life, loans, hiring, wages, prices. One sentence example. If interest rates fall, borrowing can become cheaper, which can lead businesses to invest and hire, if the credit system and confidence allow it. That if is where the entire story lives. Because transmission can be blocked, and when it's blocked, the public hears relief, but the street feels nothing changed. Step 1. What a rate cut actually does. Let's start with what a rate cut is not. It is not a miracle. It is not free money. It does not print jobs. A rate cut is simply a price change. It changes the price of borrowing at the top of the financial system. Then, slowly, it tries to flow down. In theory, rate cuts help in three directions. 1. Businesses, cheaper loans, expansion, hiring. 2. Households, cheaper credit, spending, demand for goods and services. 3. Government. Over time, lower rates can reduce the cost of new local borrowing. But notice something. All three depend on confidence. A business borrows when it believes it can sell. A household borrows when it believes tomorrow will be stable. A government benefits when markets believe stability will hold. So the real fuel is not the rate itself. The real fuel is expectations. However, step 2. Why jobs are the real interest rate for people. For an ordinary person, the true interest rate is not what you see on a bank screen. The true interest rate is the probability of getting a job and the probability of keeping it. If that probability is low, society behaves differently. People delay marriage. People delay children. Families squeeze spending down to essentials. Skills decay while people wait. And the most dangerous thing grows quietly, hopelessness. Not loud riots, not dramatic scenes, just a slow disappearance of future. That's why the phrase, rates are down, can feel empty. Because the citizen doesn't live on rates. The citizen lives on wages, and wages come from work. Step 3. The chain that must happen for jobs to appear. Let's map the job chain in plain language. A rate cut is step 0. For jobs to appear, this chain must work. 1. Banks must be willing to lend. 2. Businesses must want to borrow. 3. They must invest in something productive. 4. Demand must exist to justify output. 5. That output must lead to revenue. 6. Revenue must lead to hiring and wages. If any link breaks, the rate cut becomes a headline, not a paycheck. So when people ask, why no jobs? The answer is often, because the chain broke in the middle. Step 4. Where the chain breaks in real life. Let's take a simple example. Imagine a small workshop, metal, furniture, textiles, doesn't matter. The owner hears, rates are falling. He asks one question, should I expand? Expansion means buying a new machine, more raw materials, and hiring 2 to 3 workers. But his reality might look like this. His costs are uncertain because inputs are linked to currency and supply chains. Household demand is weak because people are cutting spending. He worries about sudden price changes in utilities, transport, or fees. And he doesn't know whether next month will be calm or chaotic. So even if borrowing becomes cheaper, he may decide, I will wait. Not because he hates growth, because hiring is a promise, and no one makes promises in fog. This is a classic transmission block. The rate can fall, but the economy doesn't move if confidence doesn't move. Step 5, another block, where money chooses the safe road. There's another hard reality. When risk is high, money prefers safety. If banks can earn strong returns with low risk, they may avoid lending to small businesses. Because lending to real businesses is messy. Some businesses fail, some can't repay, some need restructuring, some get hurt by shocks. So the easy road becomes finance that feels safer, and the result is painful. Money circulates inside the financial system, but doesn't reach the street. People then see two economies. One economy of numbers, one economy of lives, and they stop trusting both. However, step 6, relief programs and why they can feel like a bandage. Now let's talk about the thing people feel immediately, relief. Cash transfers, utility discounts, subsidies, temporary support. In principle, targeted relief can be good. When prices rise faster than incomes, a responsible state tries to reduce damage, especially for vulnerable families. But here's the danger. Relief without a job engine becomes a loop. Relief, short breath, prices still high, pressure returns, more relief. And the citizen starts to feel something bitter. Why is help always late and never permanent? Because permanent relief is not a discount. Permanent relief is income, and income comes from jobs and productivity, not from temporary patches. So we should be honest. Relief can prevent collapse, but relief cannot replace a functioning labor market. Step 7. What rate cuts can do to prices and why people worry. Here's where it gets emotionally real. When rates fall, two things can happen at the same time. 1. Some costs in the economy ease. 2. But people also fear a return of price pressure if stability is fragile. Why? Because inflation is not only about money supply. Inflation is also about imports, supply, expectations, currency confidence, and pricing behavior. If households expect prices to rise, they rush to buy. If merchants expect costs to rise, they raise prices early. Inflation becomes psychological. So even if inflation numbers slow, families ask, will it stay slow? Because if it doesn't, everything collapses again, and the most fragile people suffer first. However, step 8, the saver's pain. I survived because of interest. We can't talk about rate cuts without talking about savers. In many families, savings returns are not extra, they are survival. A retired person, a widow, a family that built a small buffer, a worker who saved for years. They often rely on monthly interest income. So when rates fall, savers hear a different message than borrowers. Borrowers hear, maybe easier. Savers hear, maybe less income. And that matters because savers are also consumers. If their income drops, demand drops. And if demand drops, businesses don't expand, which means no jobs. That's another invisible block. So rate cuts are not purely good or bad. They shift pain from one group to another. Step 9. The government's tightrope. No drama, just math. Now, zoom out. A government wants stability and growth. But if debt service is heavy, choices become narrow. Because more borrowing to cover old borrowing is not growth. It's maintenance. And maintenance is expensive. So policymakers face trade-offs like, should we cut rates to support growth, or hold rates to protect stability and confidence? Should we support households more, or reduce spending to control deficits? These are not moral debates, they are budget constraints. and the street experiences the result as everything is delayed, everything is temporary. Because tight systems behave like that. Step 10. The 2026 expectation. Why people feel it could repeat. Now let's address the expectation you mentioned. Further significant cuts in 2026, potentially similar in total magnitude to 2025. Even if markets are right, here's the key point. Rate cuts alone do not equal recovery. Rate cuts can help recovery only if they translate into more productive lending, more investment, more output, and therefore more hiring. If 2026 becomes a year of falling rates but still missing jobs, the public will interpret it like this. They are managing the numbers, not building the engine. And the engine is jobs. So the question is not, can rates fall again? The question is, will the job pipeline open? Step 11. The job engine. What it actually requires. Let's say we want real job creation. What does it require mechanically? 1. Predictable rules. Businesses invest when they can plan. 2. Affordable inputs, especially for production and exports. 3. Stable demand. Households need real purchasing power. 4. Credit to productive sectors, not only the easiest returns. 5. Skills and training, not speeches, systems that place people into work. When those conditions improve, jobs appear quietly, not on TV, in workshops, factories, stores, logistics hubs, services. And the moment jobs appear, everything changes. Marriages rise, birth decisions stabilize naturally, demand strengthens, investment becomes rational again. This is why any society obsessed with macro fixes but ignoring jobs ends up in the same trap. Because macro stability without jobs is fragile, and jobs without stability are also fragile. You need both. Step 12. What to watch next? A street-level dashboard. So what should we watch in the coming weeks and months? Not talk. Signals. Here are 5 signals that show whether transmission is improving. 1. Lending direction. Are banks increasing credit to businesses that produce real goods and services? 2. Hiring in the private sector. Not announcements, real hiring, workshops, factories, retail, logistics, construction, tourism, services. 3. Wages versus prices. If wages don't rise in real terms, demand stays weak and businesses won't expand. 4. Confidence signals. If people expect instability, they shift behavior away from local investment and long-term plans. 5. Small business mood. The corner shop and the workshop feel recovery first because they live in the real economy. Closing. The dramatic truth, without exaggeration. If the last year taught people anything, it's this. A population can endure more than anyone expects. But endurance is not a strategy. Endurance is what you do when you have no choices. And that is why the real story of 2026 is not the interest rate headline. The real story is whether a young person can find work, whether a father can rely on next month, whether a mother can buy basics without fear. Because if jobs appear, rate cuts become fuel for growth. But if jobs don't appear, rate cuts become a tool to manage time. And time is expensive, not for the system, for the citizen. So when you hear the next headline, translate it into one language only. What changes for a household? What changes for a worker? What changes for someone searching for a job? Because an economy is not a press conference, it's a life. And people don't live on headlines, they live on work.